Hey guys, welcome to the channel. If you couldn't tell, I'm not super used to just talking to myself in front of a camera yet, but I was kind of blown away by the feedback I got from that last video that I put out. It's kind of a rant, but to summarize it, I basically said that I went to go buy an M2, faced the reality of the costs of it, and decided it'd be a better use of my money to take what would have been a down payment on that and pay off my GR86. And then, in reflecting more, I thought, hey, maybe being a normal middle-class person is not the kind of person that can afford these sports cars that start costing $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. And so I uploaded that video and I was blown away by the response. I saw thousands of views on this video, like about a couple hundred comments on it, and you guys can all relate. You guys also have kind of a bleak outlook on at least the new car market, and that's pretty reasonable. We see how much these cars cost. We see what it takes to finance them, you know, payments for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and it's such a bad financial investment. And the reason that I talked more about new cars than used cars is because as car enthusiasts, we're constantly trying to get manufacturers to put out the cars that we want to buy. When I first started making consistent money in college, I bought the Focus ST because it was a $25,000 car that ticked all the boxes for performance and was practical. I could justify it, you know, got decent gas mileage, but was a blast to drive. And then when I finally paid off my student loans, bought a house with a garage, I could justify having a sports car that was a little bit less practical. And then I could get something that was track capable, fun, journalists loved it. I could show Toyota that they're making the right decision in creating cars like this for, again, $30,000. I bought back there my RC390 because it was a sub $6,000 motorcycle that was track ready out of the box, no changes whatsoever, not even brake pads and fluid. And I think that's kind of what we should be showing the industry we want and putting our money where our mouth is, if we can afford it, if we can justify it. Yes, I know that there's a used car market, but if we don't buy the cars that the manufacturers offer us when they offer them to us, then they're going to be gone, and the only stuff left on the market is going to be used, which is going to get more and more expensive, and then we're priced out again. So all of that is to say, I want to continue with this channel, and I want this channel to be for people like me, how you guys can get into the hobby at the lowest level and then keep progressing up and then get yourself a fleet of working class vehicles like my 3 plus the motorcycle. And we'll go for a drive. I'll talk a little bit more about where I want to go with this and who I am, and we can start from there. So while the vast majority of you guys were pretty positive, shared sentiment and whatnot, I know that there was quite a few people that were saying like, hey, you're not middle class, you know, look at all the stuff you have and whatnot. And yes, while there are always people less fortunate, I think it's important to acknowledge, like, all the vehicles that I have are the only vehicles that I've ever had. I bought that Focus ST as my first car that was my own, and then I had that for 8 years while I was paying off my student debt, while I was saving up for a house and had to buy a house during the pandemic. And only when I finally had a house could I justify getting a sports car to keep in the garage. And then after I had the sports car, I bought a motorcycle as like a bucket list item because I was turning 30, took that to the track and loved the track so much that I was like, hey, let me get a pickup truck so I could take the motorcycle to the track. Ended up finding this 250,000-mile pickup truck that was in generally nice condition but needed a little bit of work. And then I started wrenching on that, and now I have a pretty diversified fleet. And yes, if you combine the value of all those cars, maybe it's approaching $50,000 or so. But what can you get for $50,000 that's a performance car that's new? A GR Corolla. I would definitely trade what I have for a GR Corolla. And I think that that's kind of the talk that we were getting into in the comments. So the more I think about it, the happier I am with that decision of not buying that M2, at least for now. So going forward with the channel, I want to talk about more stuff like this. I want to talk about the financial decisions that we can all make as car enthusiasts who don't make the most amount of money, but do at least make a living. How we can prioritize having a stable financial life while also getting into the car hobby. So like I said, I made sure I was clearing out any debt and then along the way I could get myself some toys once I was in a stable place. And then after that, I got into racing, I got into track days, and I found myself having a blast and just thinking about that stuff all the time. And having a cheaper car and cheaper motorcycle to go do the track days has made it so much more enjoyable because there's less risk, the consumables are a lot cheaper, and I could just justify going back more and more and getting better as a driver. And I think that that ties into a great idea of, if you're always progressing, you always have a new goal, and those new goals keep you committed to that hobby. So if I am starting at the bottom with a GR86, and then eventually one day I get a Corvette, get, you know, a Shelby or something a little bit faster, I'm always looking forward towards the next incremental step, and I can improve. And it just gives me something to kind of strive for, rather than trying to immediately start up market, maybe even on a used car that costs the same. But if I started at a C5 Z06, I would potentially find myself in a lack of skill and overpowered scenario. And the same thing applies with the race car. We started with our race car, $400 Corolla wagon 5-speed, and then raced that, and then humbled a lot of the other guys who were there in Porsches because, you know, it rained out. We didn't really care about self-preservation. All we cared about was getting as much track time as possible and keeping the car running. And when you're in a Toyota Corolla that makes 100 horsepower, you could do a lot to that car before it breaks down, and it never broke down. So it doesn't have to cost a lot to get into the doorway of these hobbies. Going from that, I want to become a competent motorcycle rider on the track. And obviously I want to be pushing myself for track days in the GR86. I want to see if I can go sub 2 minutes with a basically totally stock car at the Ridge, and I'm going to be recording all that. And my team just bought a race car, a 2003, I believe, Toyota Matrix XRS, which if you know, you know, it's the 2ZZ engine, the Lotus 1.8 liter engine that revs to like 8,000 RPM and makes almost 200 horsepower. So we have one of those. It's got 2 transmissions in the trunk and none connected to the engine. So we're gonna be trying to make that run, and we'll be building a roll cage, we'll be building a fire suppression system from existing scrap we pulled out of the Corolla. We have a racing seat already, we have harnesses, and so we're gonna be doing a lot of suspension setup, wheels, tires, brakes, all that sort of stuff. And I look forward to sharing that with you. So I wanna leave you with a question before we explore some better roads. What is your affordable car bucket list item? What is one thing that you think that you could do realistically within the next 10 years? And it wouldn't take, you know, a massive life-changing amount of money to accomplish. I think for me, that might be something like Dirtfish, because, you know, I've tried actually racing, and I had probably the most fun in my life, and I never thought I would be driving a race car if you would have asked me 2 years ago. And now it's just like, I have free will. I can do more things like that. Like, I don't have to just be like sitting here ho-hum being like, oh, there's nothing left for me to do. There's more shit. I live an hour away from a rally school, and it's not a crazy amount of money to have probably one of the best weekends of my life. So what's your bucket list item? Whether it's driving a stick shift car for the first time, whether it's going to a racetrack, whether it's doing a track day, going to a Formula One race, driving a 600 horsepower car, you have to have a list. I want to see those lists in the comments. So I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to show you a nice little road around here. If you're still here, just wanted to point something out that was kind of funny. Now, I wasn't doing this while I was driving. I had this beforehand, but I am so not good at public speaking and talking into a camera and being personable and memorizing things that I wrote down a whole outline for a script for this episode. So yeah, if part of your bucket list is making a YouTube channel, you could be the biggest idiot like me, and you could still have it happen. So don't let your dreams be dreams. And I guess with that, please subscribe if you like this kind of content. If not, well, you've probably already started telling me. So thanks. See ya.
Into club, at least he says at least transmission issues in those years.
Yeah, it's really problematic. Yeah.
Good. For car number 2, he would